Please work. Please work. Oh, yeah, yeah, it's working. Brilliant.
Oh, hey.
So they just don't like my other account then.
But I can't see you, honey.
You can't see me.
No, I can just see a black screen, actually.
Oh, shit. I can see me. I can see you.
Okay.
That sucks that there's no picture.
Yeah, they're really trying it. For everyone who's just joined us, we've like been literally trying to get to do this chat for ages, and there's some kind of technological intervention that doesn't want us to chat, right?
Yeah, it's happened to me loads of times. I've been banned from doing lives and stuff like on all of my accounts, so it's not a surprise to me at all.
Yeah, happened to me in the lockdowns. I was doing a lot of public outreach, especially there's a channel that represents the Black community in London, and I was like talking to them, and they just kept cutting us off, like they don't want us. Yeah, and my friend Fiona says it's glitching on her end. But you know what? Let's just get on with it and fuck 'em.
Yeah, totally. So, like, there was loads of things we wanted to talk about when we talked about going live, like a few weeks ago, but that much has happened since then. I don't even know where to start in the last few days with Israel and Palestine. Like, my God, like, you oh, here's Transtruther. Should we invite her on as well?
Oh yeah. Do you want to join us, Transtruther?
Have you got your face on?
Okay. I know you're
I'll
right.
send her an invite.
Right, we are literally being bombarded from every angle, spiritual, mental, sexual, you know, physical, all of it. It's just like a different narrative every day.
I know, and like I've been watching some of your videos and some of Trans Truthers videos, and everything of what you guys are saying just resonates so much with me because it's like I'm feeling it too, Like I know I'm not trans, but I'm a gay man, and just being part of that LGBT community that's being targeted right now by every side, it's like you can't not notice it when like it's every day, every day, every day, and people can say, well,
Non-stop.
stop. I can't stop looking at it because I need to be aware of what's going on because we need to be aware of what's going on, but it takes its toll. It's yeah.
Yeah. I think what's really funny is I spot follow mainly like spiritual accounts, people that claim to be light workers, star seeds. We are all one, here for Team Humanity. And in the midst of what has now become a holy war, which is all about a portal, which we can get into, they're sharing things about trans women, like humiliating trans women. And I'm very much on the part of like, people don't have to like you and you don't have to accept me. You don't even have to accept that I'm a woman. I don't give a shit because I know what I am. But when you're humiliating anyone and then saying that you're working for a spiritual cause, to me that is like very, very conflicted.
The problem that we have, I think, is that we still like associate a lot of the people that we talk to about these issues to be part of that group that we had initially in 2020 with the lockdowns when we were fighting against COVID and everything else, and
Yeah.
everybody else was asleep. Forgetting is a lot of these people aren't actually that awake. They're only awake to all the LGBT stuff. That they're awake to that agenda, but they're only awake to that agenda because it's so fucking obvious, So
Yeah.
I think we're forgetting that people just aren't awake. And I watched your video recently where you was talking about how, again, a lot of people just aren't connected enough. People are not really spiritual in that way to really understand that, like you say, that they haven't done the work if they're still in that place where they're judging others on that level and going for those like really divisive and really obviously divisive tactics that they usually call out themselves, and yet they fall into the traps that they're usually calling out with regards to picking sides and one side dividing against the other. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just Truth says she can't join.
And then sharing memes saying, we must live in our authentic self and go from being a caterpillar to a butterfly. And I'm like, does that also include trans people?
Yeah,
Like, am I not living my authentic self? Like, do you really want to see me in a men's toilet?
yeah. And all I can think of is just like it just makes me hark back to 2020 and 2021 when we were all united against the same enemy, and everyone just felt so connected, and everyone connected all over the country, all over the world for the
Yeah,
first time. And I remember that. Everybody who was part of that will remember that forever, how powerful that was, how we all came together despite our differences. And I really felt like it was becoming something, but then I would say the last year and a half, it's gone a bit like
yeah,
wrong.
definitely definitely the last year. But listen, I went on all those marches, freedom marches. You know, I was face to face with. I mean, I've got to be careful what I say here. But you know, I had a video on my phone of them doing a test on a newborn baby, and I went to an officer's face, and I was like, "How can you think this is okay? I'm a medical professional. I'm telling you, that's the blood-brain barrier." Like, and just no response. But I was walking with a bunch of lesbians and transsexual women, and where were the men? I'm sorry, where were the men? I went to some of those marches. They were like 60, 70, 80% women, even elderly disabled women. And then you have these like alpha males who online very much feel that they have the strength to say to your face, oh, you know, you're not a real person, and your identity is, you know, it's made up in your head, it's a mental illness. Look, I'm here for humanity. I don't give a what you think about me, because ultimately I know that you are me and I am you, and we are both part of the same energy, having a different experience in this body, which is temporary. So let's move on and actually fight the real enemy, which is harming the future of our planet and our children. And surely that has to be the most important thing, not people's gender or sexuality. Like, it's very bizarre.
I think people need reminding of that. I think people are forgetting. I don't know why or how, but it seems like they're forgetting. And again, like, and I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but like, I'm not at all. Like, but I was one of the first people in the northeast part of the UK to really openly speak out about this. And when
Yeah,
we first started speaking out about what was going on, we were a small group of people that got together to really try and bring about some change. And like, whether people like it or not, I am a gay man, and I was part of that.
right.
You know what I mean? Now all of a sudden there are people in the movement. Maybe they're all just online, or maybe they're all just bots, but I don't think they are. More and more like right wing kind of views, and kind of saying really homophobic stuff, and then I'm like arguing back at them, and then speaking to me like shit. And I'm like, where's your respect? Like,
Right.
seriously, where were you? Yeah, you're speaking out now, but like, do you know what I mean? The hypocrisy is just absolutely rife.
Do you know what I really noticed? That this whole trans and LGBT narrative, you know, like, which has been regurgitated from the 80s, we grew up with it, that trans people and LGBT people are groomers and pedos. That actually started around the time of Ghislaine Maxwell's arrest. And when you actually come off Google and you do your proper research, you understand why all these people are connected. There was Jimmy Savile on TV yesterday thing, didn't watch it, couldn't watch too much of it, but you know, he was friends with the Queen. He got an OB. He was a no one who got access to children in hospitals. And like, my point here is, none
Yeah,
of these people are trans, none of these
like,
people are LGBT. We're an easy scapegoat for those people who have power and access to right media, and create a Pied Piper of Hamelin.
absolutely. It's in their handbook to use minorities and use people who are different again and use them to fight each other. It's the Freemasonic like rule 101, like how you control people. Like, and
Right,
yet people still can't see it. People still can't see it, and people still fall for these same divisory tactics over and over again. As long as
right.
it's not them, it's the other, and they're safe, they're okay with that hypocrisy. If they can live with that hypocrisy, fine, but
Baby,
you know, if they're going
none of us are safe from the New World Order. It don't matter who's fighting at your side when you're fighting for freedom, truth, and and the future of humanity and our planet. I mean, surely we have to put our differences aside.
yeah, I mean, we've been harking on about this for how long as well, and I don't know, maybe it's just mostly, but it's not just online trolls though, because again, it's like these big names on YouTube that everyone follows, like they're all harking onto they give you like half truth, And a lot of people know that, but they follow, like I follow them, some of them myself, knowing that they're not giving us the whole truth, but I just follow them because I don't know why. I just do it because I want to know what a lot of people are hearing, you know, more than, even though I know that it's not the full truth. But Transtruther just said Santos, yeah, like he's gone a bit off the rails recently as well.
Do you know, I think
But you just,
it's all playing out on the 3D level, and it's from my perspective, we have to look at the spiritual level and what's going on the bigger picture, because, you know, from my perspective, we are in a spiritual war, and I know that these kind of ideas are a bit like woo-woo to a lot of people, but actually humans have always been spiritual. I'm not talking about religion. We've always had a connection to the land and to the spirits of the land, and that connection's been severed. And you know, the powers that were, let's not say the powers that be, the powers that were, they have their own schools, they have their own religions that we know, Freemasonic religions, and they are practicing black magic, if for want of a better word, to control the collective consciousness, and they do it through the media.
yeah, it's black magic because it's to bring about change for the purposes of control is black magic in essence, isn't it? So
Yeah, I can see that Transtruther's having a problem getting on. So,
yeah,
darling, try to disconnect and start again. That's what I had to do. Hi, Ricky. Thank you for your pictures of the reptilian apparition in the chemtrails yesterday. Hope you don't mind me sharing that.
what was that? Sorry.
Ricky's just joined. He gave me some pictures of an apparition which appeared yesterday, some chemtrails, which
Oh,
I think looks very much like a reptilian entity.
really? I saw the one that looked like an angel, the cloud. That was really nice. That cheered me up. Yeah.
Well, the veil is very thin at the moment, honey. It's going to keep getting thinner.
It's crazy. It's crazy times. I mean, we've got, what have we got? I said the full moon. Well, we've got the moon this weekend, and then we've got the full harvest moon in a couple of weeks. Hunter's moon, sorry, in a couple of weeks' time. So we've got two moons, two crazy moons. Oh, no, it's a lunar eclipse, isn't it? Lunar eclipse this Saturday. Is that right?
Well,
Um,
that's why all the craziness is happening in the world right now, because there's a very the astrological alignments are pushing forward our ascension process, you know, along with the solar flares that we're going through.
yeah,
And I just think that, like, and I'm not trying to be shady, but there's a reason why LGBT people were hunted down and erased throughout history by all these religions. And that's because if you look at indigenous cultures and ancient cultures, it was actually the LGBT people and the gender variant people that were revered as mystics and having that natural kind of, you know, we say like the queer witchiness. I'm sure you've heard that before. There's something a little different about us, and you know, that's why they tried to erase us, because and tried to put these bad labels on us, like we're predatory and we're evil and we're bad. And it's actually, no, we're actually not. We're actually quite spiritual beings that are
yeah.
having an immensely spiritual experience in this body.
And they've controlled the LGBT community and culture in such a way so that like our intellect is kind of dumbed down on this whole bread and circuses aspect of it, and then on top of that, it's atheism is pushed because the religion, you know, the horror stories and all the controlled religion, so that the atheism is pushed. So we're all kind of brainwashed by it, really, you know, because they don't want us to realize our spiritual potential.
Absolutely. And they never show spiritual LGBT people ever. We don't exist. They show the most basic, like, third dimensional NPC characters, and then that's supposed to represent everyone. Like a lot of the kind of discussions I've been having with people on social media who claim to be light workers and working for the higher collective, and then they're putting transphobic and homophobic content out there. It's like, you know, a lot of these discussions, they cannot actually see that they're just pushing propaganda, because anything that separates and divides us is not working for humanity. And when we step out of the ego and the identity of I, and we become we, that's the togetherness, that's the unity that's going to push us forward, not the division.
Yeah, I have to say I've unfollowed a lot of people, and I know a lot of people have unfollowed me as well, you know. And I know people who I've done lives with who've lost followers just through talking to me and Transtruther.
And how is that helping the cause, you know, this cause to awaken people to what's going on in the world? Because if we are a percentage of the population, surely they need us on board. By humiliating us and subjugating us and othering us, trans troopers is asking you to accept her. All that's doing is holding humanity back, because it has to be all or nothing, because we are dealing with demonic forces. We are dealing with evil, and that is what it is. And if people don't like to hear it, I'm sorry. How much more obvious does it need to be than what we're seeing in the world right now? And it's not trans and gay people to blame for that.
You know, it's like people like us, where are the truthers who are giving voice to people like us? I had one guy message me saying, oh no, this guy that does a podcast and it's really popular with the truth community, I'll send the details to him. And he sent me what he sent the guy, and I never fucking heard back. Like, he wasn't interested in talking to us, do you know what I mean? And I know I'm a bit mouthy, but you know, like, I don't think that was why. So,
I've had this the same, exactly the same, because obviously you know my background. I was sex trafficked in children's homes. And, you know, they see my profile, they see a blonde woman. Okay, great, we want to do a podcast with you. And then when they actually delve deep and see that I'm trans, they don't want to give me a voice. They don't want a trans person to come forward and say, yeah, I was sexually abused. And actually, I found in my life, and I can't speak on behalf of the community, I found that a lot of LGBT people have come from some form of abuse in their childhood. And I'm not saying that's what makes us LGBT. What I'm saying is we actually deserve a voice too to talk about these things.
totally. And like the fact that we don't have one makes me suspicious of people, because why wouldn't they want like gay people to speak? I know America has gays against groomers, but I don't know, like we can talk about that separately, but you know, like we don't really have anything in the UK, any representation at all, do we? So,
well, we don't have that agenda here. You know, even though I had massive talks about that yesterday, people jumping on, oh, if I was a 12-year-old now, they'd chop my boobs off. Honey, I worked in a sexual health clinic in the NHS. People are dying trying to get hormones. It's literally impossible to get medical care in this country if you're trans. So these are just myths. There is no sexual clinic for children to sex change them. It doesn't exist. Transgender has been, they won't let her come on because she's been sharing.
try Transtruther, try your other account, log into your other account and try and join us from that one. That's what I did.
Thank you, Katie. Are you following Katie, by the way? She's absolutely mind-blowing. I think I sent you her profile.
Very, yeah. It's just,
you know, I think ultimately that we're in this kind of like collapse of the 3D matrix, and you know, there's fingers pointing at everyone, and you know, I've been so shocked. I was literally crying earlier, to be fair. Like, I've been so shocked at people's response to what's going on in the Holy Lands right now. And you know, a lot, again, people that call themselves from Truth Community, and they're saying, oh, this was Mossad, so it doesn't matter. These were actors. Where's the fucking respect for those girls and children and people? Where's the respect? Where is the respect? Does it matter who's harmed who? These were innocent people, you know, and it does feel like an attack on the feminine, the divine feminine at the moment. It really does.
It is completely, and it's just shocking, because if you people that call themselves truthers, but they won't look into like why this war's been happening for like hundreds of years.
Oh,
do you know what I mean? It's like,
wow. Is that you, Morgan?
Hi. Yeah, I look really rough. I've done a procedure. Excuse me.
Oh my God.
I'm blocked on my other account.
Well, you must be doing something right then, honey.
Honestly, Honestly, what we're gonna do, eh?
Well, they're obviously transphobic, so we'll get them done.
I
How are
mean,
you?
Good, I've
me,
shaved some.
Yeah. Rob, I can't see you. You've gone black.
I can't see
Really?
him either.
Again. Could you see me before?
They hate this. There's something going on with this live.
It's a nightmare. It's like I'm so shadow banned as well, you know, like sometimes I have like 3 followers, 3 views and compared to like 50 and it's just up and down and
We're, we're,
it's weird.
we're all shadow banned, honey. If you're not shadow banned, then you're not.
And
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
you've not got no credentials, have you?
uh-huh.
So what do you think about Israel and Palestine? That's what everyone's talking about.
We were just talking about how truthers don't seem to want to look into why this land is so holy and what's so special about this strip of land on this earth plane that everyone's been fighting over for so long.
What's your opinion?
I think like what Blonde Spirit was saying, I think there's something there that they're not telling us about. Could be something like a portal,
Yeah.
could be anything.
I mean,
Have
it's
CERN
well
ever, have
documented.
CERN ever done anything in Israel?
Not sure. But you know, with the underground tunnels and stuff, you don't know because it's in Switzerland, isn't it? You don't know how long those tunnels stretch. You don't know what connected to. There could be ley lines. You know.
I think,
It's so nice to be able to chat with you, Blonde.
thank
Yeah.
you. You too. Although you did ruin my Saturday night, I'm not going to lie. When I saw what was going on in Israel, it was from your stories, and it's wrecked my head. Like, no, I'm not saying anything bad. Like, you share what you want, but it was to see that what was, you know, and I agree with
The
Rob.
brutality of it.
I think all this religious thing is demonic entities, right? And people are demonically possessed because if you didn't have that kind of demonic possession in you, you couldn't go and rape a girl to death, break her legs the wrong way, and then video it while shouting, "This is in the name of God." You know, it's shameful. Religion is holding humanity back, is keeping us separate in these different myths and stories. And I respect that all these cultures have got their own stories because all cultures have got their own stories. But when it comes to killing children, no, that's where we have to draw the line.
You know what's the most fucked thing is? She was at a protest for peace.
I
For
know.
peace. How fucked is that? Rob, we can't see you.
And
I can see
also,
me.
No,
she
Posted.
one
was
can see you.
Turkish German, and the Palestine used to be part of Turkey, so they wouldn't have even given her a chance to say, "I'm actually genetically Palestinian." And for me, you know, the worst part about it for me was these videos being shared online as a spiritual, from a spiritual context. Her soul would be deeply fragmented to be going through that kind of experience, and then I'm sure she would have been on substances because it was a rave. For that to happen to you and then it put all over social media, that is going to create like a massive impact spiritually on her soul. I was praying for her soul to pass over, and a fucking angel appeared in my garden. I've shared it on my
Yeah.
Instagram. And then when I looked closely and changed the lighting on it, there was like a parasitic reptilian entity on her head. If that's not symbolic of what's going on, I don't know what is. We're not dealing with human beings anymore, honey. You put a video of children being held in cages. You know, this is not a black and white thing. This is on both sides, evil.
Absolutely, and it is. It's absolutely demonic. It's demonic energy. Like it can't be anything else.
Darling, it's everywhere. You go out on a Friday night and you see people who are like very intoxicated, drunk. That you can see they're demonically possessed. They wouldn't behave like that normally. People, you know, look, people have got their own beliefs. It's fine. I operate from knowing that there is the spiritual world around us. We're not just in this 3D world. And I understand that people get attachments. We've all got them. We've all had them. But there's no excuse for what we've seen. We have to kind of take a step back and say what has happened to our species as humans when we're arguing about a religion to the point where we're killing each other.
I just think I recently read the letter from Albert Pike to Giuseppe Mazzini, where they talk about the 3 world wars.
Correct.
And this is before he did Morals and Dogma, and I always thought it just didn't sit right with me.
He said there would be 3 world wars, and the 3rd one will be created with the Islamic State, which will destroy the Jewish state. 1893. Yes, that's the Freemasonic. That's the Freemasonic demonic agenda that we're dealing with, and people, they're so busy dealing, like having a go at trans people and gay people, that they're missing the fucking point. We're dealing with some serious demonic energy here, which is being called in by the elite in their ritualistic ceremonies, which they do, and ultimately we're all arguing about fucking pronouns.
Well, they're gaslighting the public, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're gaslighting the public while they do their New World Order, digital prison, 15-minute city cashless, let's talk about insignificant culture wars and divide the people. Like, that's what LGB, Drop the T, and the Gays Against Scream, it's like weakening every community. And this is what I said before about, like, they've done it with religion and now they're doing it with other communities, like Protestant and Catholic, Shiite and Sunni, Pashtun Muslim and the Arabic form, and Orthodox and Orthodox Judaism and liberal. It's like, it's all divide, centralize, play off, divide, centralize, play off each other. You know what I mean?
One of my followers has just left, thank you Persia, and he just left a comment. They all drink from the same cup, just like in Hollywood. Well, we know what they drink in Hollywood. So yes, it is all the same cup, and it all has the same purpose: human sacrifice. And when they are doing that sacrifice on a holy land where there is a portal, an interdimensional portal, the only beings that are going to come out of a portal when there's a war and an apartheid going on is obviously dark, evil beings, and that's what they're summoning. They did it in Serbia in the 1990s. That whole war in Serbia in the 1990s was the same thing. There's a portal in Serbia.
Guys, Blonde Spirit, you are pixelated to hell, and Rob, no one can see you.
The video later, they will be able to, because if I can see myself, hopefully,
and I
watch it back, you will
get on my other account. So we are all massively being, like, algorithmically attacked.
Well, there's going to be some truthers out there saying that we're transgender reptilians and we're having a
controlled opposition. We're controlled opposition.
Shields.
Yeah, we're recruiting because we can't breed ourselves, obviously.
Girl, they're going to be talking about your lip filler, girl, so don't even.
Oh, honey, freshly pumped with Satan's sperm.
Don't go there. I need to join.
Oh, man.
Do you know what? It's so refreshing to connect with people where you can really be yourself and speak openly. And as I said before, put all of our differences aside and recognize that we have one common goal, and that is to create a better timeline for humanity without these monsters.
Yeah, and we have to stop getting sucked into all of this hate, because I can feel it. I can feel myself getting pulled into it, like even on social media. And there's something over the last few days it's really been stopping me. Like, I've been getting some shit, and I've just been thinking, you know what? Instead of just attacking them, I'm just gonna just send them away. Like, I've been getting that a lot recently, so that's good, I guess, for me.
Have you had any more shit, like you and Evan, from you went to that park? Has
no, not since then.
Anything else like that happened to you?
The only thing that I think they went to his place, I don't know if I told you about that, they went to his place of work and started being really arsey with them as customers,
No, you didn't tell me they went to his place of work.
But after that, nothing since then, and that was a few months ago. So
God, it's a nightmare.
Persian said, are all under attack, especially those of us who are awake. That's what my spirit guides, listen, my spirit guides are never warned to give me a warning. They speak in poetry. It's like a different language. It flows. And they've never said anything. They're quite funny. And they gave me a warning. All light workers are under attack. When I saw that video of the girl, Shanook, I knew she was one of us. She was dancing for peace, for God's sake. You know?
Yeah, her
No, no.
Instagram had some awake stuff on it. And at first I thought, oh, that's really odd. Is this a false flag? Or is she in on it? Is she Masonic? But I've changed my mind. I do think she was a victim because I do, like, she had a lot of awake stuff on there. Really horrendous. I couldn't believe what I saw.
You know,
I just can't
sorry.
dance in there. I can't imagine just dancing there the way they were all just dancing when they were videoing, and then just seeing those parachutes coming down and probably not even knowing what they were at first, you know, and just, I don't know.
Somebody said me and two trans girls have had our bank accounts closed. Yeah, that's what Katie in the chat said. She said they're going to be coming financially as well for us. It's coming at all angles. I get people looking at me in the look. I've always had that, but people looking at me in the street like they want to kill me, like. And
you're joking?
not all the time, every day. It's like, you know, like you can. I'm not that tall. I'm 5'9". Like I'm not like, you know, a brick. So and it's like aggression. And I don't think it's the anti-trans thing because I passed. I think they can pick up on our vibration. Katie said it was a real attack. She was a victim, and that Katie's a psychopomp, so she went to do some soul work on her.
No, I do believe that. Of course I do. And but I always try and step back for a minute and just assess. Number one thing I do whenever there's a huge thing in the media, I always think, okay, right, let me look into what they're not telling us right now, and then let me look into the people involved. Like with George Floyd, there were too many Masonic weird shit, like his brother, when, you know, in the pinny and stuff like that. And I thought, yeah, this is definitely an Asian provocateur kind of thing. But you have to with any situation now.
You know, I think that, like, I don't want to get too much into it, but I've seen a lot of people and I've had conversations which have hurt my feelings, to be honest, with friends, and they've sort of said, oh, this is done by Mossad, you know, this. To me, it doesn't matter who's done what. Life has been lost here. And, you know, until when we start to understand that if someone else is hurt, that hurts us because we are the same consciousness, that we are one human family, and we stop allowing religion and race and gender and sexuality to divide us. That's when we take that conscious step forward, and it's happening. People are waking up. We would never have had this conversation 5 years ago.
I know, but
they did the most.
To some people that aren't awake, we look insane right now. Like, I'm on my other account, and I know there are people on here that will think we're nuts.
Oh yeah, well that's just normal, isn't it? Like,
yeah, that's like, I've had that since 2016, so
I'm over it now. Like, I'm so over it.
He says
There's a time.
Why can't I see you, Bob? It's so weird.
It is.
And it's his life.
Okay.
I know, that's what I'm thinking.
Really weird, but other people can see me, so when I post the video, it should be fine.
But you know it. Yeah. You know where you just said, like, we look insane to some people. That's because we're living in an insane illusion. Everybody is insane. Where I live in London, I'm telling you, there are literally zombies on the streets. I don't know how many they've had. I don't know how many they've had. I don't know what drugs they're taking, but there are people on the street that look like they're living dead here now.
It's crazy.
Have you got that where you are?
For me, I just see people leaning in on really low vibrational, like, selfishness, like they're living in their like, for themselves.
Yeah, like I was.
What about you, Ron?
years, and no one was talking about what's going on in Israel, Palestine. Nobody was talking about it, but they were talking about like Big Brother, and I was just like sat there like, Jesus, like no wonder I have to
So
live.
vacuous, isn't it?
I
Yeah.
think that's because everybody is under this spell of apathy, and also like, and I know you probably won't agree with me on this, and that's fine. We don't have to agree on everything, but I was very resistant to get a smartphone because it took me a few years to do that, and I feel like from an energetic point of view, the smartphone has really changed the consciousness of people, because that video that you shared with what happened with Shanuk, that's deeply traumatized
It's
me, and we are getting these deep
horrendous.
traumas over and over and over again, and children are able to access porn. When I was a child, you couldn't access porn. Not like people, but you know, there's top
Well,
magazines.
you could go onto a magazine
Yeah,
shelf and turn to page 3,
yeah.
girl.
You could do that, but there weren't like, you weren't in
You
your bedroom.
weren't seeing full on sex and anal and gangbangs and really extreme. Yeah, yeah.
And I think that there are scientific studies that prove that that causes sexual psychopathy in young people. And when I was working in sexual health in the NHS, this is a very big problem for young men, especially young straight men, because they don't know how to relate sex and love together.
Do you think they'd use that because it's a way of degrading the divine feminine?
Yeah,
Totally.
it, it,
Yeah, yeah.
it's part of this gender war which is going on, because it creates more violence against
Yeah,
women.
there's definitely a thing to play off the genders. I don't know if you know Donut Factory. He spoke about all this, about how they're really trying to separate like men and women, and like part of that is like trans, is feminism, Andrew Tate, you know, that whole like crowd. And then what was the other thing you just said? I can't remember now, but you see where I'm coming from, don't you?
Well, you know, I actually think that transgender is a third gender, and that we have always been in all cultures throughout history. And even the really rough cultures like New Zealand has got the Farfafinis. We've always been here, and in all of those cultures, we are seen as spiritual beings, you know, and
Well,
I feel,
In India,
yeah,
trannies used to go around blessing newborns as shamans, didn't they?
yeah,
They
yeah.
still do in some
Yeah.
parts.
No, they totally do. Pakistan is crawling with them, and that's the caliphate. So, you know, this idea that we've suddenly just magically appeared out of nowhere and we're trying to like grab your children and turn them into trans people. I was the only trans person working across a whole bunch of services in the NHS, and they came in with this, you need to put she, her pronouns. I said to them, I am not getting involved with no pronoun bullshit. If you cannot look and my breast and my face and my ass and my long hair and my makeup and put two and two together and see I'm a she, her, then, you know, to me that's transphobic, because it's all a satanic, the woke agenda is satanic. It's a communist satanic agenda, and it inverts things. And to me, again, if you were a they, them, put it on a badge or tell people, that's fine. I respect that. But to expect the whole world to suddenly start putting pronoun badges, it's going to piss a lot of people off, and they're going to come for us.
Yeah, it's more like a situation where you would have someone in a place of work where, let's say, an employee refuses to use another employee's pronouns because they're just like some pronouns they don't agree with, and that employee could get the other employee sacked from their job. It's that kind of scenario which terrifies everyone and gets everyone to hate on the LGBT community. It's stories like that that can either be real stories, fabricated, or just kind of the seed could be put in there. Do you know what I mean? Through the propaganda and through the something real stuff that we've seen there. And people always say, oh, well, if you say it's all controlled opposition and propaganda, then how come we've got this footage of these guys dancing around? But you don't know who those people are. You don't know if they're actors. You don't know if they're agent provocateurs. You know, you're awake enough to believe in a lot of these things that people say, talk about human trafficking and SRA, but they're not awake enough to even the possibility of controlled opposition and protests and propaganda to make us look bad. Like, really? you learn nothing from history. Do you know what I mean?
I'm going to say something like really controversial now, and I'm risking my life saying this, but, and maybe Transtruther is not going to like that as well, but there was a certain person on a platform and she was threatening violence, and obviously she got arrested for that, but that makes us all look like we're violence against women. Why was she given that
Oh,
platform?
yeah, you're on about, yeah, Sarah, yeah.
To me, why was she, that person, given that platform, and why did she, even if she feels that kind of way, make that statement out loud? Because obviously that's going to create a lot of, and quite rightly so, fear. But also, to me, if you're violent against women, then to me you don't really have a right to identify as a woman, because I personally don't feel that, you know, this thing with all the sex offenders changing their gender and that, I don't think they should be allowed to. If you've raped a woman, you shouldn't be allowed to transition. In my part, you can wear what you want, but where I'm coming from, if you're a woman, you're a woman. You don't harm other women, and that, I'm sorry, that's just how I feel, babe.
Yeah, and it's agendas like those within the LGBT movement, the LGBT agenda. It's those types of agendas that, you know, the people behind those ones are the Satanists. You know, they are the Satanists pushing that kind of shit, and they have infiltrated our community. They have, you know,
Well,
but now
they
we
formed our community. Pedophiles and Satanists formed the LGBT community, and that we were lumped in with pedophiles. So that's when, like, when Gays Against Groomers talk about, oh, this person coined cis and they were a pedophile, and it all came out, and this guy did a study and they were a pedophile. Yeah, because you were treating us all like pedophiles, and what a pedophile's going to do, they're going to attract to sexology to try and justify their perverseness in order to try and normalize their own, you know, deviance. So I'm not surprised that pedophiles formed it. Of course they did. You should never have done that. That was your fault for lumping us in with monsters. You know what I mean?
Well, the Labour government funded the paedophile information exchange in this country. Harriet Harman trying to
Yeah.
normalise it as a legitimate sexuality, and then
Yeah.
all these people that, as you said, the guy who set that up, identified as a gay man. Excuse me, don't fucking appropriate our identity to push your fucking bile twisted satanic.
Excuse me, Mrs.
Do you know what I mean, though?
Yeah,
I'm
I do
agreeing
know
with
what you
you.
mean.
it's just so obvious that it's used to divide and conquer that I don't understand why so many so-called truthers that I've been following on Instagram and stuff fall for it. I've unfollowed so many people, as I've said so many times, and I'm still unfollowing them now. You know, but I always give them like 2 or 3 strikes. You know, I was like, see if someone posts something
Yeah,
stupid, I'll let you get away with that one. But then I might check out their profile and see what else they're saying, and if they turn up
yeah.
like an evangelical, you know,
Well,
person.
there's a lot of things they can do with LGBT. They can use it to slip in paedophiles. They can use it to, you know, fracture the sexes and things like that. And they can also use it to, what's it called? Depopulate. So if they normalize it and then they make it seem cool and this, that, the other, and they do get people on hormones, people aren't going to be procreating as much. There are a lot of ways that they use it as. Same as they use the black community and
Totally,
Jews.
totally. It's
I
interesting
agree with that.
because, but with BLM, people, you don't get so many truthers going, oh, it's all the black people. You don't get that here. But you do get LGBT, you know, LGBT within the truth, and it's accepted. That's the annoying thing. People aren't calling it out.
Yeah,
You know, people aren't
I
saying,
recently watched that debate of conservative trans and liberal trans, and everyone was on the comments was like, "Oh, Blair White's the only sane, normal trans," and she's not. Just because she's been given the platform doesn't mean she's the only one that's been saying this. I feel like me and you have been saying this for years.
yeah,
I watched that today, and
It's a mess, isn't it?
I'm not going to say what it is, but you're going to know what it is. I just saw a sociopathic narcissist.
Alexander
No,
or Blossom.
I'm not saying the name, but let me just say the wig.
Oh, blossom.
No,
Yeah.
they said it all, and it was like they didn't make any sense to me what they were saying, because they were making things up rather than listening to what the other
You
opinion
went to the
is.
White House. I didn't. I loved that. I loved that.
With
Yeah,
Dylan
it was a mess.
Mulvaney.
It was a fucking mess, wasn't it?
I,
What do you
Yeah.
think, Rob, to gay male hate crimes have gone up? Do you want to speak on that? Because we've kind of spoke a lot about trans at the minute.
yeah,
Well, I just think it's reflective of that attitude I've had back on social media as well when I've tried to defend people and I just get loads of shit back. Like, for example, calling that video out and then women are screaming, we are coming for your children. And just because I suggested that they were controlled opposition or potentially plants, because they were like this bunch of women, they're getting like groomed, all kinds, you know? Like, just because of that, even though I'm like constantly speaking truth, but I dare stick up for us. It's like, you don't care about the kids, you don't care about the kids. I'm fucking sick of caring about the kids. I don't have any fucking kids. Do you know what I mean? I feel bad
Well,
for the
they
kids.
roll the kids out when they want to, demonize. Don't get me wrong. There's a nuanced conversation to be had with children and blah blah blah. But I feel like it's been a conversation for 7 years now. I'm getting really bored of being just constantly slapped with the kids. At the end of the day, it's down to the parents. And I don't work on a school board, so figure it out. Don't put it on me.
well, I'm sorry, but where are the trans people in these services that are supposed to be transing kids? There aren't.
You
Those are
know,
positions.
the waiting list. What you said earlier, the waiting lists in this country are disgusting. The
But
When
NHS recently went to court over their waiting list for trans healthcare. So there's just no way children could be getting trans in this country. It's not
no,
possible.
and I actually care very, 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 very much about children. I would go as far as to say I'm an advocate for children because of, the sexual abuse that I suffered as a looked after child in the care system. But it is simply not true that there is this transgender agenda to try and sexualize children. Every trans person I know is very aware that if you give puberty blockers to children, it will make them sterile. And children cannot do those body modifications because they're not conscious enough to understand, that can affect their future. I don't know any trans person that agrees with that, apart from the ones that keep being pushed on social media because they're paid to do that.
it's like what I said, that this whole LGBT agenda is designed to fail. It's designed to fail so that people will see it as this horrible, like, Sodom and Gomorrah-esque kind of thing in a society that's completely collapsed and full of debauchery and everybody's ashamed and everybody's looking for answers and how can we fix? And then the government come along and go, we have the solution. And then we have
We'll gas them.
we all get fucking gassed, whatever, yeah. So.
Well, it felt like that 2 years ago when we were refusing to take part in the hysteria. I
Yeah,
was having meetings with my friends in my house behind locked doors in case the Gestapo came for us. And we were worried they were building re-education camps. And let's be really clear, in China right now, there are millions of Uyghur people that are in concentration camps right now. Nobody's talking about that. Do you know what I mean? Like, these things
That's why
haven't
I
gone
can't get
away.
on board with all these Muslims and stuff talking about Palestine. Number one, if you want to save them, go fight for them. Number two, where are you when it comes to talking about Uyghurs? Piss off. I don't care about your fake pandering. I don't care. Couldn't give a shit. No. Mind you, I haven't got time for it.
Ultimately, we're going to keep going more and more into crazy because that's the kind of, we're in the Kali Yuga, the end of the Kali Yuga, the beginning of the age of Aquarius has already started. So this is just, as we know, everything falling apart. And we just have to make sure that we do not allow any group of people that does not have humanity's best interest at heart to create a certain timeline, which will be cashless, digital ID, 15-minute cities, new world order. And, we have to put our differences aside. And I'm very disappointed in the Truther community, if you want to even call it that. I don't know what to call it anymore, because they don't seem to see what's at stake here, and they're being manipulated by propaganda, actually.
Yeah, buying up assets, that's a good one, because those Maui fires, they were caused by the US government and they bought up that land. So there's definitely buying up our assets as well. And they're doing that through inflation as well.
But it's up to us to hold the frequency, and it's up to us to keep throwing light onto the shade and to keep, you know, resisting.
Things are not going to get better unless everyone comes to a more of a collective understanding of what's going on. And the only way I see that is people start to wake up like what's really going on, you know, like as in all the other stuff, like that people call us crazy for. Like basically that needs to happen. So we have to pray for people's eyes to just open somehow. Like that's what we
Well, but
need in it.
you know, like back to the conflict in the Middle East, like that was a very small group of mentally ill, demonically possessed men that committed that act, and I'm talking about in the festival, not all the other stuff. And I believe that was basically done because there was women there that they could have sex with, because all those women were raped very badly to the point of death. And now the whole country is being bombed. The water has stopped going, there's no food, and 50% of that country is children. So the children and the women are suffering because the men wanted to go out and fuck and fight, you know, all in the name of God. This consciousness does not work anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. We need to move on.
We want the collective consciousness of the West to support that evil, and just to justify the evil that they've shown them, so they can harvest all that negative energy from everyone, from feeling hate and anger against people.
Deluge. And you know, I share stuff like reptilians, and I share stuff about illusion, all of that on my page. And like you say, honestly, I don't get any gigs anymore. A lot of my friends don't talk to me anymore from a few years ago. I've lost a lot of friends. When I shared that thing about the handbag made out of the child's spine and human skin, you know, and what is mind blowing to me is that you could fall out with someone who is exposing evil to you and saying, let's actually do something about this, because it's not fashionable, is it? It's fashionable to wear your Balenciaga, dress up like a fucking demon, inject yourself with crystal meth, and put a rainbow flag hairpin in, you know.
Because they don't want you bursting their bubble, because they're in this bubble and they don't want you bursting it.
The bubble has burst, honey. The bubble burst in 2020 when we in this country actually got to see what tyranny looks like.
Yeah, lest we forget, or lest they forget.
I feel like everyone has forgotten though.
That's because the sun. They switched sun back on. That's where
I'm gonna have to duck out early because my boyfriend's ringing me. But I loved our little chat, and we'll do it next time when I've got some more makeup on.
All right. Bye, darling.
And
bye, honey.
Yeah, Persian, I agree. Very demonic. Very demonic. And also they had child porn photographers in their, as you probably know, in their editorial pieces. And it's all connected. All connected.
Yeah, people can't deny it. You know, you talk about this stuff now and people don't slag you off. They just go really quiet. They just, because they know they can't say anything, but they just get awkward. And people do. People leave your life, you know, because they think you're dangerous somehow. But they don't. But if you ask them how, they probably couldn't answer you. You know, they just think you're dangerous to their, like I said, their bubble that they don't want to burst in.
I think it's like a form of hypnosis.
It's
I personally call it reptilian hypnosis. It's like that film They Live.
Well, it is because it transcends intelligence and intellect. You know, there's people who are extremely intelligent and successful that are completely duped by this, and then there's people of, you know, very sort of lower working class backgrounds that completely get it, and then there's other sides that completely are asleep. Like it doesn't choose any gender or you know, social class or anything. It's you're either awake or you're not, you know. And some things have happened throughout your life that have allowed you to open those doors and see the world the way other people can't see it. And we've all followed that path in different ways through this web and gotten to that same door, you know. That's
Yeah.
how I see it anyway.
But you know, like the Lucis Trust has a website. The Freemasonic temples are all over the country. You can go on Amazon and buy a Manly P. Hall book, or buy a book, you know, a Theosophy book, Alice Bailey, and it's, you know, Aleister Crowley. There's actual bookshops in London that sell his work, and it's clearly there that this exists and people engage on the kind of thing, and it is, you know, used to change consciousness.
Absolutely, yeah. And you can get them off Amazon even as well, you know. You can order these books on Amazon. Like, the information is out there. That's not, in the old days, the problem was that the information wasn't out there and you had to look for it. And people think that that's the age we're living in now, that you have to look for information. No, you don't. It's there. The information is out there. The problem that we have is that we have a humanity that is so hypnotized and under this spell that people can't even look. It's really weird. It's hard to explain. It's that people can't even look to see, you know, so they won't look. You could show them everything and like they wouldn't see. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to explain.
Persian said, look at the building in front of the Royal Courts of Justice. Well, I don't know that one, but I know the Wellcome Collection in Euston, which is who manufactured Vaccine, has got a big pyramid with an Eye of Horus in the middle of the door, and like massive big Illuminati symbolism. And it's all hidden in plain sight, darling, because you either see it or you don't. It's like, you know, those things I've shared today with reptilians showing up. I can clearly see what that is. Other people can't. My friend was with me, she couldn't see it. And that's okay. People are looking through 2 eyes or they're looking through 3 eyes. There's just, I was told by my friend who's, she's a QHHT therapist. She works with a lot of past life regression, a lot of spiritual work. She said that we've gone through the split now. So there's people that we're walking amongst who are in the 3rd dimension, some are in the 4th dimension, some are in the 5th dimension, and that it's kind of like a birthing process.
Yeah, it's very fragmented. It's like it explains the frustration within the awake community. It explains why, it doesn't excuse it, but it explains why people are attacking each other, you know, and why they're looking for scapegoats, the easiest of which being the LGBT community, for example, you know, to blame everything on, because they're frustrated, because there are people within their lives, their friends, their family members, their co-workers, who are completely asleep and they can't wake them up. They've been terminated and there's nothing they can do, and that's very frustrating. But what they have to realize is that we, as LGBT people who are awake, we're going through the same shit. But then on top of that, we've got that extra level of distrust because of like propaganda that we're seeing and stuff like that. Not trying to say that we're blaming them for it. I'm not trying to act like we're all victims and we're all triggered. I'm just saying that's how it is, isn't it? So
yeah, I agree.
Basically,
It's gone past being triggered now. It's gone past trying to have a adult conversation and find a common ground. It's just, now it's just like you see people for who they are, and what they believe, and sorry, I'm not taking part in the conversation with you anymore, which is about division or separation, because you are me and I am you, and we are all one. And any other narrative for me, that was my enlightenment when I did plant medicine for the first time, ayahuasca. That was my enlightenment for me. We are all one. Anything else is illusion. It's just illusion. I'm not taking part in no illusions no more, honey.
Yeah. Do what you want as long as you're not harming anyone, you know? That's how I see it.
And the satanic motto is do what thou wilt. They don't mention harming people. They just literally say you can do what you want. We understand do what you want without harming anyone else, and that's a big difference.
Yeah, totally.
Can I ask you one thing?
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on the reptilian agenda?
In what
way?
Real?
Is it real? Do you believe in this concept?
I'm open to it because, you know, it's funny because we respect people of different religions and different faiths all over the world that believe in all these gods, and that's totally fine. It's even protected by law in most countries. But you're crazy for believing in reptilian entities. I think that's wrong, you know. I think the media spun it out a lot in the 90s with David Icke and made it sound like he was saying that the royal family were lizards. I don't really think that's what he was saying at all. I've actually looked into what he was talking about, and all he ever talked about was people that he'd spoke to who'd experienced this and had witnessed some kind of shapeshifty experience with someone, and that it looked kind of reptilian, as in scaly or whatever, but they couldn't. But so that's very vague in itself. So to me, the media has taken that and they've spun it out of, you know. I think there's definitely something to it. You know, if you believe in energy, frequency, and vibration, like so many truthers do, why wouldn't you be open and you believe in these entities? You know, of course.
Mm. Yeah, me personally, I believe that we're under a intergalactic occupation by these beings. And I believe that's where all the organs are being trafficked to. And I believe that is where all the people are going missing. I was working on a homeless charity in London for many years. One night, it was a rainy night, it was a cold night. I was in the office on my own, very late, it was dark. And there's a boy who's been missing for many years called Ben, I can't remember his surname. And I was looking through the online files of, you know, missing persons. And, you know, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And all the young boys are from the Middle East, mainly Afghanistan, Iran. All the young girls are from Asian countries like Vietnam and Thailand. We don't hear anything about this in the newspapers. Hundreds and hundreds of children and
think about
young people.
this whole Israel thing as well. Like, there's going to be so many more. Like, oh my God. But yeah.
Well, it's a blood sacrifice. All war is a sacrifice, and it's easy access to take people as well.
Yeah, is there a death cult? It's energy harvesting, usually performed
Yeah.
on ley lines, like that as well. That's why they have slaughterhouses on ley lines.
Yeah. These are the conversations that humanity needs to be having now. I don't have time for nonsense anymore.
This is the problem, but then you get people saying to people like us, like, you need to shut up about this shit because we need to be focusing on waking people up to the real evidence and the blah, blah, blah. But it's like, have you not tried for 3 years? Like, you know, if evidence was our own problem, like, do you know what I mean? We wouldn't have a problem because evidence is abundant. That's not the issue.
Yeah.
It's deeper and beyond that, you know what I mean? It's spiritual, it's psychological. You know, these people are masters in MK Ultra and all that shit. They've had decades to master this stuff, you know. They've been working people for a long time.
I was going to say how much evidence do people need. I mean, it's everywhere. You can see it with your own eyes, like. But I want to finish on a positive note, darling.
Yes, please.
We must. You know, I think all these things that are going on in the world, it's, you know, it's like a glass of water with mud in it. You shake the water and it becomes cloudy, and then eventually all the mud falls to the bottom and things become very clear. And the more clear things become, you know, there's been a lot of darkness on this planet for a very long time, and it is quite a lot to deal with, you know. So it has to be a slow process. It can't be any other way, because people's brains couldn't handle it, you know.
Yeah, a lot of people would just go mad, you know, and that's not insulting them. It's just that people can't handle it. We have been able to handle what we know somehow, you know, and we should be really grateful of that. And we should think, well, there must be a reason for that, you know, and appreciate the fact that we are, even though it feels like a curse a lot of the time, it's a gift as well, you know.
Yes.
And an ability.
It is a gift, and I just feel like the fact that we're having these conversations and globally there was more conversations going on, that we are waking up as a collective. And I do believe in a 100 monkey scenario, where, because it's been proven in nature with birds, you know, that and monkeys, that eventually if enough people know the same information, it travels along our DNA. our ancestral line, and it will happen. It will happen. We cannot let it not happen, you know. And that's where we put our energy, our focus, our prayer. It's for humanity, not for one or the other. Can't be one or the other.
Yeah, we have to remember why we're here.
Exactly. Well, on that note, it was great speaking to you, my darling.
It was great. I've really enjoyed it. Hopefully we'll do more in the future, and I'll try and upload my Queer Eyes Wide Open YouTube channel as well if I can download it. So thank you so much for talking to us, and have a great night.
Bye, you too. Lots of love, everyone.
Bye bye everyone. Bye.